For all those who have joined, we just wait for another minute to start off. Just give us about a minute or so more. And requesting all to please be on mute. That'd be very helpful. I think we already have about 95 people, sir. We'll go ahead and start.
Yeah, sure, Sandeep, you can start.
All right. A very good afternoon to all those who are present at the call. Thank you so much for taking out time and joining this wonderful webinar on the future of employee transportation and the role of electric vehicles. I am Sandeep Senani, your host and moderator for today. Very privileged to having doing this webinar today. I'm from Tata Motors, and along with me, I have our country head, Mr. Ashish Dhar from Tata Motors, B2B EV head, Mr. Avinash Kulkarni, and Manish Jayasuriya and Nitin, who will be assisting me during the call. Along with that, we have very privileged guest speakers today, a very elite panel of speakers, very experienced, whom I will be sharing more about during this call and going further. Right, requesting all if you keep your device on mute so that there is no echo and it helps everybody. Right. Now, just to give you a brief, you must be wondering why Tata Motors is arranging this kind of a webinar. Now, we have been very closely associated with the space of mobility, and over the last 4 months, we've been speaking to a lot of people from the fraternity, from the facility management space, employee transportation space, and everybody has different opinion, doubts, questions on employee transportation, as well as those organizations planning to go electric are wondering how they could learn from other organizations, what are the pluses, what are the minuses. So we thought, why not? Why not arrange for a webinar which will give everybody a perspective on employee transportation as well as electric vehicles. So when we came up with this idea, we thought, why not get in a few people, some experts who have been in this field and share their best practices. So we're very privileged to have 3 guest speakers with us today, Mr. Kumara, Mr. Sudhakar, and Mr. Arul, whom I'll be sharing a small brief upon. First up, we have Mr. Kumar Shivanna. He's the Director of Real Estate and Facilities of Citrix R&D India. He's responsible for corporate real estate, facility space management, transport management, food services, sustainability, and infrastructure projects for all Citrix offices in India. Prior to Citrix, he's worked with SAP for 11 years, Wipro for 8 years, and he comes with an electrical engineering background, CMFM certification from Michigan State University, USA, and a Master of Corporate Real Estate from Cornet Global, USA. He also completed his diploma in senior leader in corporate real estate from Cornet, USA. We welcome you, sir. Thank you so much for having joined us today. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Sandeep.
Next up, we have Mr. Sudhakar Reddy. He's the head of administration and operations at SAP Labs India. He's responsible for overall administration function at SAP Labs India, projects from MD's office, crisis management, risk reporting, governance structure, and health and wellness at SAP India. Prior to this role, he worked as a finance manager at SAP Labs India, wherein he was responsible for financial reporting, audit, and similar financial roles within SAP. Prior to that, he worked for a short stint at 2 years with Gabel and Microland. Overall, he has 20+ years of experience and is a multi-skilled professional in finance, project administration, and various operations. He comes with a finance background and an executive MBA from IIM Bangalore. We welcome you, sir. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Sandeep.
Next up, we have Mr. Arul Kumar. Arul Kumar, he's a senior manager, real estate and workplace at VMware India, and he leads the workplace operations across all VMware offices across India. He and his team oversee facility management, where the scope of work includes soft services, cafeteria, transport operations, and plays an important role in VMware India crisis team management. Prior to VMware, he worked with Tenon Property Services as an associate vice president, managing various accounts across India. His early tenure includes rich hospitality experiences from ITC and Residency Group of Hotels. He also comes with 20 plus years of experience. He's completed his post-graduation in hotel management from Institute of Hotel Management and Catering Technology and Applied Nutrition. Thank you so much for joining us, sir, and giving us this opportunity.
Thank you, Sandeep.
So we have close to about 65 plus years of experience that sits today in the panel of experts, the elite speaker panel that we have today. And we are very privileged for them because through them we were able to arrange this webinar. And let me assure you that next 1 hour is going to be very, very exhilarating, and you're going to get good insights. And the only thing that we want is you go back with key takeaways, some very good learnings throughout this webinar. So once I'm done, Mr. Ashish Dhar will be presenting a small short note on EVs globally and across India, post which we would be having the meat or the core section of this webinar, where the 3 key speakers would be sharing their views on employee transportation as well as electric vehicles, and post which we will be having the question and answer session. So I request all of you to be mute throughout the call. You could raise your questions through chat. My team will be noting it down. But we'll be addressing most of the questions towards the last 15 minutes so that all of you have a chance to be heard out. And for questions that we cannot take up, probably we'll take down the email IDs and we'll get back to you on feedback as well, owing to the paucity of time, right? So thank you all once again. Over to Mr. Ashish Dhar, who would be now giving us a brief on the electric vehicle scenario globally and in India. Ashish sir, welcome you.
Thank you, Sandeep. And it is indeed a pleasure to have all of you on this webinar. Close to 125 people already have joined. And I think there are some more additions which seem to be on the anvil. So I'll just go to the presentation and I'll just give a very brief introduction about how the EVs have been performing in the world and how they are performing in this country itself. Sandeep, can I have the presentation beamed?
Yeah. I have shared it. If you can, it's visible, the presentation.
Okay. Right. So I'll start. I think it's slightly delayed at my end, but I'll just start off. So
to see the slide, Sandeep.
Okay, 1 second.
Yeah, the slides have not come up yet.
Can't see.
Yeah.
1 second. Now is it visible?
No, I know it's
Yes.
okay.
Yeah, it's visible now.
Yes.
Sure. Sorry from my side.
Yes.
So all of us have been hearing about the EVs, and one thing is why is it there a change? The whole world has very well adapted to an IC engine. Why should we change to an EV? And we see certain macro and industrial trends which seems to be flowing throughout the world. Okay, and I think one of the things people do talk about is the climate change. The reality is, it is expected that by the end of the century, there will be 1.5 to 2 degree increase in global temperature. And that means catastrophe for most of the countries, most of the cities which are based near the beaches, okay, which are on the sea floor. Antarctica is likely to vanish if this sort of a temperature increases. So there is a worry which is happening. There is a volatility in crude prices, and we know the whole volatility keeps on, sometimes it's very low, currently it's pretty low, but it keeps on increasing on the higher side. And then there is the social awareness. And the reality is, even if I look at my own country, there are 14 cities which figure in the top 15 cities, most polluted cities in the world. So obviously there is an awareness, and I guess all of us who are in the field of transportation also owe it to the society to provide a much more clean air. And transportation is contributing to 30% of the pollutions. On the industry front, yes, there are technology evolutions. I guess today, almost all the major automobile companies are investing in AVs. They believe that it's a need of the hour to provide cleaner fuel to the people, cleaner sources of transportation. And almost everybody has started investing in this. And that is true. And in fact, let me share today, if you have to look at the most valuable automobile company in the world, it is not Toyota, it's not General Motors, it's not Ford, it is Tesla. Okay, and it's reflection of the future that an EV company, a pure EV company, is now becoming the most valuable company in the world, and that actually shows the sort of a potential which this has in days to come. Yeah, Sandeep, you can just there's a box on the black box. You can just remove that black box.
Yeah, sure.
So now coming to the various countries, if you look at it in terms of the size, there are more than 2 million EVs which have been sold in the calendar year. China leads the number of EVs, but then in terms of penetration, there are these Scandinavian countries like Norway, Netherlands, where we find the adaptation. And today in Norway, it is going to around 40 to 50% of their whole industry has turned into EVs. So as we get EVs in the market, we find that the government is the one which actually facilitates it. So there are tax benefits which are being provided by the governments, and in our own country also, that government has provided a FAME subsidy for people for yellow plates. So there are commercial usage FAME subsidies. There are subsidies for setting up chargers. So there are lots of things which is happening not only in this country but worldwide to facilitate. And why governments are investing? Because they want to give a better quality of life for their for the people in their countries. Yeah, next. Sandeep, you can go to the next.
Yeah, it's changed.
Okay. Now, if you look at how the EVs have been evolving, like if you start somewhere around 2015, so you had the cars which were actually delivering a range of around 60 odd kilometers. Okay, some 3-year-old warranties. Today we have cars. Then from 2016, the range is increased to 110. Then it went to 140. Now it has gone to 213. 220 onwards, we will have cars which are going to give 300 odd plus cars. So you can clearly see most of the work has been happening on increasing the ranges, on increasing the performances, and also ensuring that the vehicles are provided with very little trouble. So there are cars which are being actually put in the market with unlimited warranties. In terms of number of kilometers, we have warranty like Nexon is the latest product which we have launched, where we are talking about 8-year warranty on the powertrains and the battery. So like that sort of products have evolved, and it is very different from an IC world. In IC, you will get a 2 or 3-year-old warranty, but here in EVs, we are talking about a much higher warranties. Any of the cars which we sell today has an inbuilt warranty up to 1.25 lakh kilometers. Okay, so that also shows that EVs as such are completely low maintenances, and there is a possibility for us to offer much higher warranties and operate it at a much lower maintenance level as compared to an IC engine. Next. So government has been given some incentives. So I think today the GSTs have been reduced. I think from 28% to now 5%. There's a sort of a GST reduction, tax reduction which happened. Second, there are these subsidies which are being offered to the tune of like a Tigor EV, you get a subsidy of around 2.15 lakh rupees. And there is another 14,000 crores which the government has put in the market, which actually is available for charging infra as well as subsidies. There are a large number of chargers being put up. Apart from the government, where ESL seems to be the one heading it, they have a plan to put around 1,200 chargers in the next 8 to 12 months' time. There are companies like Tata Power, who are our own subsidiaries and with whom we are tied up, who are actually putting 300 odd chargers by March, and they have a plan to go to 1,000 chargers in another next 1 year's time. So that this sort of an infrastructure is getting created, and the whole idea is that infra is something which is going to be made very easily available to the people, particularly the people who are interested in this group, because the fleets require an infra. So apart from putting like in a personal car like a Nexon, we give a home chargers, which actually our Tata Power comes and puts up with each person. But in a fleet, you require a public infra. So there is sufficient infra being made available, at least in the key cities, which will be made available to you. And for us, there are preferential rates with Tata Power, which again will be made available for all the people. Next. Again, world over, there are these companies which have been divided. There are these EV 100 companies, where the companies world over, they have decided that they will be using cleaner source of transportation. So you have BSCS, E.ON, SBI, and others who come in EI. In India itself, there is a RE100 group. Again, this is a group of companies which actually are talking about shifting to cleaner source, and particularly the EVs. So these are the companies who themselves, through their central charter, has actually communicated that they will be working on the EVs, and there's a lot of carbon saving which happens there, and that is something which they are going to monitor. We expect in the next 3 to 5 years' time, most of the employee transportation, I will say 90% of the employee transportation, will be shifting to EVs. That is the sort of an expectation which we have, and it's predominantly because of one, the sort of cars which are being made available in the market. Second, in terms of the charging infra which is being available, and the low cost of running. So any EV can easily be run for lakhs of kilometers. Like if the warranty is 1.25 lakhs, and typically a Tigor-like product, the battery can easily run for 3.5 lakh kilometers. So that's the sort of a vehicle and available. And if you are saying 3 to 4 rupees per kilometer, you can see the amount of saving one person makes if he actually runs the car to that extent. So that is one of the reasons we believe that employee transportation is going to be one of the key ways. Things have changed in COVID. I think post-COVID, as the companies keep on evolving, there are these requirements, safety requirements, which are being made. So we are also providing it through our XC routes, and even for the fleet which you have, existing fleet which you have, that can be provided with these safety norms. Basically, we're talking about curtains made of PVC material, which are transparent, light-weighted, and there is space isolation requirement, whether it's the front or the rear. So all those facilities are being made. There are provision of droplets and dust. All these technologies have been evolved and being fitted in the company, mostly through the auxiliary routes, such that whatever fleet which you have is actually relevant and can actually function post-COVID. And I think safety is one of the key issues. I put this slide because I know what scenario we are today. Most of the companies are again starting up, and I think this slide is quite relevant to you, because you will be looking at safety solution, and I think our dealerships are equipped to give you the safety solutions. Yeah, next. So with this, this was a brief presentation which I had, and I don't want to be between the three key speakers and you. So over to you, Sandeep, back.
Thank you so much, sir, for such a wonderful overview of the electric vehicles industry. Once again, Mr. Ashish Dhar is the country head for electric vehicles from Tata Motors side. Thank you again, sir. Now, moving over to the meat of the key part of the presentation, the session that we had, the webinar that we have today, we're going to take views from the key speakers. So starting off, sir, Mr. Kumar Shivanna, the first question that I put across is, Citrix started using electric vehicles almost 3 years back, when many firms were still toying with the idea of electric vehicles. Now, what was the vision that you had in mind, and how does it correlate with the results today? Also, if you could elaborate on the carbon emission footprints that you had in mind and the overall impact that you've had.
Thank you, Sandeep, for having me for this webinar, and thanks Tata Motors for organizing this wonderful webinar on this interesting topic. So we at Citrix started the sustainability journey more than 5 to 6 years ago, and we initiated many projects in the area of energy conservation, water and waste management, and we have seen greater result in all those projects. In fact, one of our Bangalore Citrix R&D center for that particular facility, we won the national award twice in the year 2017 and 2018 as one of the highly energy efficient buildings in India. At that time, we decided to bring, just before that, we were thinking how we can bring even transport services, that is employee transport services, also under the umbrella of sustainability. And we started evaluating and started working on that project. And then we decided then to start with 10% of our total transport services, or 10% of our transport fleet, we bought into electric cars, and gradually we increased to 20%. You asked me the result. I must say the results are amazing. Just to give you data, in 2019, and throughout the year, we covered almost 7 million kilometers of distance, bringing our employees from different part of Bangalore city to our office. It means close to about 600,000 kilometers we cover in a month. That is like a return trip to moon. That is the kind of transport usage in our organization. Look at in that 20% is from electric vehicles. It means to say approximately close to about 95,000 to 100,000 of liters of diesel we saved simply because of usage of electric vehicles. That's one part. Second is when you convert that, what is the kind of CO2 reduction we could achieve with this? It is approximately about 65 to 70 tons of CO2 emission we could avoid by using an electric vehicle. To put it in perspective, it takes 1 year time for about 86 acres of forest to remove 66 tons of CO2. It means so much of things we could achieve simply with 20% of our electric fleet in the overall fleet. I think this is my starting thoughts. Probably I could add as we move on this webinar.
Well, that was great, sir. I mean, I would title it as EV brought us to the moon and back. Right. So very, very nice insight there. Almost 65 to 70 tons of CO2 reduction. That's a big achievement, and that's almost like a Cubbon Park or a Lal Bagh being put up in Bangalore. Right. So, moving on to Mr. Arul, many organizations today are grappling with even 10 to 15% conversion to EVs. And I'm assuming VMware has been able to achieve a very good percentage of EVs, right? So I would request you to share some of the best practices that you would have adopted in this whole EV implementation project.
Oh, great. Thank you, Sandeep. Thank you, Kumra, for giving an entire detailed speech about the CO2 avoidance. Yeah, we are also in line with the same. And as a VMware, we strongly believe on sustainability initiatives, and we have been driving this for a while, for a couple of years, 6 to 7 years. And as part of that, I just wanted to give a little background how the journey was, so that it will be helpful. So we signed a contract in 2017, and we started with about, as you rightly said, 15 to 20% of the electric fleet initially. And then we have learned a few ups and downs, right? When we started the electric fleet, we had very small fleet with the 2-door, only that too in the front side toward the driver side, and there are no rear doors. So we had a couple of challenges to start with, especially when the women employees, if they need to enter into the vehicle, so the privacy challenges are there. Or if it is a tall or well-nutritioned employees, if they need to enter into the backside seat from the
We lost you.
So your audio was
mute.
Can you repeat, Arul? We lost your audio for some time.
Oh, you lost me?
Yeah, just once, maybe 10, 20 seconds, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So then in the market, we got the 4-door vehicles, but they are again with the smaller segment of vehicles. With that, again, we had a couple of challenges. Then with that learning, we have finally could sign a contract with the sedan fleet vehicles. By bringing in sedan fleet vehicles, we could able to achieve a lot. To start with, for every vehicle on an average 1.25 metric tons of carbon footprint we avoided, and it is like on an average in a year, like as you rightly said, 3 Cubbon Parks are added to the Bangalore city. That is how we kind of had a journey. And by bringing in this electric fleet, initially we had a couple of challenges from the employees also. Is the electric fleet safe enough to travel, especially during the rainy hours? So we kind of did all hands stuff like that for our employees, and we have given the confidence to an employee that there is no challenge when it comes to an electric fleet. Either in a sunny day or either in a rainy day, you can comfortably to travel. So these are the things actually given a confidence. And when we got into a bigger fleet, the sedan vehicle, where the radius also, right, initially with the charging infrastructure, poor charging infrastructure, we could not go to end of the city, because when you charge, the vehicle can go maximum of 80 kilometers initially. And today we are very comfortable to have these vehicles 140 kilometers, and with that we can able to do able to achieve what we require. And by bringing in electric fleet, we also could able to achieve a bigger occupancy ratio was a little higher than the regular fleet. The reason is these are all sedan, and these vehicles have got a good leg space, and we could able to optimize the cost as well as the occupancy levels as well. And of course, the sedan vehicles are quite comfortable to have a longer travel as well. So with that, the employees are also quite comfortable to commute in these vehicles. And I think these are the best practices we brought into the table, Sandeep.
Right. No, great. So, I mean, seeing from a journey, it's like moving from an ambassador to the modern cars that we have today. And thankfully, so that the electric vehicles are progressing in the right fashion. And I mean, it's glad to see that today the platform is available for many of them. The phase that you went through, where probably they don't have to go through. This is probably a much stable phase that anybody could have. Right? Thank you.
Thank you.
Sudhakar sir, I mean, it's almost been a decade, almost 10 years. I mean, nobody even thought of, I mean, nobody even knew electric vehicles 10 years back, right? Nobody even knew about fast chargers. So SAP has been using EVs for last 10 years. I mean, that was hard for me to even digest. But I mean, you and your organization have been able to do it. So being the pioneer in this space, if you could share how the EV journey has been, so that probably we could learn better.
Okay, thank you, Sandeep. I think our journey is much more unique than the, Kumara's journey and Arul's journey. The reason being, it's we have started its EV fleet sometime during year 2011. Okay, 2011, close to 10 years now. In those days, if you look at it, it's we used to have small Reva cars. Obviously, those cars are not meant for employee transportation. As an organization, we believe it's a very strong sustainability concept promotion, and we have created electric car lease scheme in those days, way back in year 2011. Lot of almost 40 plus employees were interested at that point of time, and from Revoids we bought almost 40 cars in year 2011. And also as an organization, we have promoted paying green allowance, okay, to our employees, right? It's because they were part of the car lease scheme. Because if they go for conventional car, anyway, they are eligible for fuel allowance. Then it's we as an organization decided to give green allowance. They no need to pay any fuel or something, because our company takes care of complete infrastructure facility here. We do have various electric charging points at our office, and our employees do get their preferential car parking. That way, we started our journey, and when it comes to during the year 2017 and 18, we thought that why can't we look into its employee transportation, because all the long range vehicles were there in the market from Mahindra and as well as Tata. That is the year in which we started. It's for employee transportation. Employee transportation means today we are having 150 cars, which is 60% of our employee transportation, okay, runs on the EV. And we on an average, 6,000 kilometers, our cars will drive 302 tons of carbon emission. That is which we are saving. Okay, when you look into it, the numbers, it's massive, right? From the SAP point of view, we strongly believe from the beginning. I think the EV is going to be the future. That is the reason we have created enough infrastructure facility within our own campus, And as well as in the leased premises also, we do have fast charging stations and as well as the slow charging stations, right? We did not limit our only electric cars. What we have done is that we do have its 100 plus its electric bikes, which we provide for our employees who wants to go to metro stations, railway stations, or inside city, right? And we do have a tie-up with Yulu. Hope you would have seen that small battery bikes, and for all the bicycles. Overall, what is left for SAP is that only we are eyeing for the electric bus. Let's see how the future is looking to.
Very nice. I think you have not left any means of transportation except for buses, like you mentioned. It's the first mile, last mile, and every mile of electric, 302 tons. Wow. That could be production of steel of some of smaller factories in India.
Yes.
Great, sir, great. So, I mean, very wonderful insights on the EV front. I think if there was a EV competition, I'm sure all three of, in terms of carbon emission saving sustainability competition across India, all three organizations would be front runners for this. So going ahead, Kumar sir, one question considering the peculiar times that we have today. Let me call it the COVID times as such. So this has brought out some very new terms like the new normal, and people have different opinions on real estate, canteen, facility management, what's the future going to be, etc. on that. So similar questions are there on employee transportation. What's your thought on how the space is going to evolve going ahead, sir, in the short and medium and long term?
Yeah, Sandeep, I think this webinar itself is kind of diversion from many ongoing webinars. I know every week we have at least 3 to 4 webinars, and the topic are related to either RTO or optimization of portfolio or challenges because of COVID and things like that. Yes, you as you rightly mentioned, this COVID-19 has brought many challenges and many changes in our CRE and FM industry. When it comes to employee transportation space, again, safety of employees and drivers will continue to play a significant role. So that is the topmost priority which we started working on. And employee transport industry itself, has gained the most from improving technical infrastructure.
Kumar, your video just paused, sir. Kumar, sir? The perils of technology. If you can just probably wait for 10 or 20 seconds till sir is back, or else we could. Right, I think let's wait back. Manish, if you could just check back with sir since his video has paused, maybe a small technical glitch. Till that, I'll move on to Arul, sir. Yep. Arul, sir, so, I mean, while we were on the same topic of COVID, while we were, I think, sorry, Kumar sir is back again. Sorry, Kumar sir, we lost you for about 20-30 seconds, the perils of technology. Sorry, if you could repeat again, sir.
Yeah, thanks. I don't know, I was talking about technology and, technology failed actually. Yeah. My apology for interruption. I think I was talking about how technology is helping, not only in many other areas in our CRE and FM industry, but even when it comes to employee transportation services. So, for the last couple of years, many corporate like us started heavily using technology in our transport services. Earlier we used to manage everything manually. It was one of the toughest, areas in transport management. Today, thanks to technology, start from employee cab booking to sign in, sign out to tracking and women employee safety, and when it comes to invoices, that is e-billing, transparency, improve employee efficiency. Not only that, even when it comes to productivity. Earlier, there was no control what time our cab used to reach office, what time it leaves, and we used to get many feedback or concerns from business. Now all those things are out of syllabus because we could enhance, employee transport services in such a way that, business started appreciating, how their productivity increased because of timely arrival of employees and timely departure. That is also important. It is not that only arrival, even timely they can leave office and reach home safely. Those are the things. With this COVID-19 challenges, earlier in our organization, employees to take driver's mobile and key in their unique code when they board the cab, and then when they reach office, automatically that used to get logged off. But now with this contactless onboarding facility, immediately our service provider helped us to have contactless onboarding, through OTP mechanism, like how the technology helped with this. So the journey will continue, and still many things to do in that area. Example, in the slides, Ashish showed that how experts like you and your other competitors are going to create a kind of bifurcation between driver and employee with this COVID-19, where social distancing is going to play a key role. So to whatever extent possible, you guys can provide social distancing that you are going to provide. Number one. Number two, when it comes to air conditioning system, it's in the car it's a common AC. So still experts like you all need to see how you can split the AC circulation well within the cab, so that there should be isolation between the driver and commuter. And third thing, what I wanted to say is, like on real estate side, we are all talking about de-densification, because of meeting social distancing norms in the office. How we can continue to enhance and improve the employee safety in our office premises. We need to look into even in the cab also. So there again, there are opportunity for you people, because once we decide to open the office, when we start RTO, whatever the phases, our initial thoughts, I'm sure like me, other industries also are thinking to to start with one employee per cab. It means we need to have more number of cabs to commute and and to continue to provide employee transport services for our colleagues. So these are some of my thoughts. Maybe I would like to hear from others.
No, great, sir. I think technology has a very key role to play, as well as manufacturers like us. So definitely we are on it, because we do believe that this is a temporary phase, and the way things will turn up, if you see world over, this is improving day by day as we speak. Right? Now, moving on to Arul sir, I mean, this time has brought in a lot of innovations and out-of-the-box thinking, which has become essential, or the very fact of, I mean, these out-of-the-box thinking have become actually hygiene factors. So how do you see employee transportation processes emerging in the current scenario?
Yeah, thanks, Sandeep. So as this is a new thing for all of us, and we are still swimming, to reach the destination, which is the right thing to do. And as part of that, when we start operating the business, obviously we will be starting with either 5% or 10%, 15 or 20, 30 or beyond that, right? So when it goes, as Kumbara rightly said, we may need to start working with the transport vendor partners to have each vehicle a single occupancy. And by bringing in single occupancy, obviously the fleet size, whatever is there today, that has to be doubled up or tripled based on the requirement. And also these vehicles has to be, partition has to be created between the driver and the passenger, so that the partition, by creating a partition to some extent, if not the 100%, at least to some extent, the person can maintain his hygiene. And to have more confidence to the employee, to give more confidence to the employee, what we need to do is we need to partner with the technology. Though we have partnered with the technology earlier, but still during these situations, what are all the best things to be done, right? Recently, I was talking to one of the technology partners. They are coming up with attendance-based, the moment the driver completes the self-declaration, by wearing a mask, he can able to start the trip. Otherwise, he cannot start the trip, right? That is something which we need to bring in. At the same time, we need to implement to the employee as well, that they need to wear the mask if they need to board the cab. And when they are also trying to avail the transportation, they need to provide the area and the roster. When the rostering is done, the technology should help in such a way that which are the red zones. I'm sure the technology guys are working. Which are all the red zones, and how do they give alert if someone is trying to board a cab from the red zone or trying to come to an office? The technology should be in a position to help so that the employee will not be, we can avoid employee coming to an office. And over and above, as again Kumara did talk about the OTP check-in details, right? When the employee is boarding, the OTP has to mean, of course, as of now we are using the Uber. Whenever we use the Uber, we just give the OTP. The similar thing has to be brought into the corporates as well. And also, if the employee is commuting from X place to a Y place, the employee should have a comfort zone that the vehicle is not passing through the red zones. So how do we come to know, unless there is some technology which can help and to avoid crossing the vehicles through the red zone? I think by bringing in all these parameters through the technology, the employee confidence levels will go. Of course, whatever is the parameters we need to put in the office premises to ensure that the social distancing is being met and we are taking care of the employees. Then the employee count start coming, will start going higher and higher. As the count goes higher and higher, obviously it's not only the team transportation, which are the smaller segment, it is also to do with the shuttle services, which are 12 plus or 18 plus seater vehicles. Obviously, we will not be in a position to able to bring in the same capacity what it is earlier. So we may wanted to bring into 50% or 30% or 40%. So when we bring down the occupancy, obviously the number of fleet again will go high. So I think next couple of years, at least 1 or 2 years, we see the number of fleet requirement will go high once we start doing operations.
Great. So I think the OTP part was something which I never thought about. Just imagine an employee using OTP to check into his own cab, which I think is, we never thought of this. Maybe COVID has brought in certain practices which probably we had ignored, and maybe this is for the better of it itself. But very, very good insight, sir. Very rightly put. As this whole ecosystem works together, the number of employees in the confidence will also go up. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sudhakar sir, so since coming back to the EV topic, considering SAP has gone through so many phases of EV adoption, what suggestions would you give to organizations who are looking to implement EVs in terms of charging infrastructure, route planning, and operational models? Because everybody has the same amount of questions, thinks about the same thing. Maybe if you can share your thoughts of what they could learn.
Okay, since Kumara and Arul has already spoken about COVID-19 situation and all these kind of measures, I'm not going to touch on that.
Sure.
In long run, see, if you look at it, EV is going to be successful only if you have a proper infrastructure facility. That is a very key point. Today, our government or the kind of that automakers or maybe a kind of to some extent the vendors not fully equipped. There are some vendors, there are some automakers which they are doing something related to infrastructure, but this is not enough to take the EV to the next level, right? And very key point is that infrastructure. Since the country does not have that infrastructure facility, it becomes a corporate responsibility to support initially. Maybe once it picks up, if you see like petrol bunks everywhere, there is a charging stations, and every national highways you have enough charging stations, then you don't need to worry about that. But initially, yes, corporates have to support that. That is why we took that very big step, and in all the places, fast charging stations, slow charging stations, leased buildings, owned buildings, everywhere we have created. Number one. And number two is that the technology. Technology, of course, is very, very important, especially for the electric vehicles. See, today the technology is helping. Let's say if a car is there somewhere in the Silk Board, the person who is sitting in Whitefield can see what is the charging level of that particular car. Okay, to that extent, the technology is there. Then the driver and transport supervisor, they are super confident. This car can do the duty and come back safely to the office, right? When it comes to the technology part, it's SAP has adopted technology. I would say it's from almost 6 to 7 years back itself. From last 6 years, we don't use single paper in the transport vertical, including the guest signature. Everything happens digital, OTP, and no single paper is used for the transport. Then the third thing is that the transport managers and the responsible people, my advice is that, yes, initially there were a lot of concerns whether this car can go till the end of the employee house and safely can come back. Those kind of concerns were there. Today, you don't need to worry for all those things, because if you take any conventional car in a day, on an average, car it can run only 80 to 100 kilometers. Whereas EVs are available up to 200 kilometers range. Those myths have already gone. You can safely go and implement the EV with a little bit more of technology and the regular monitoring. And the last point which I wanted to say very clearly, the top management of the company, all this while they were everybody was very focused on the top line, which is revenue, and bottom line, which is the profits. Apart from that, all responsible corporates and the top CEOs of the company also started talking about the green line. That means how sustainable our operations are. What is that we can give it back to the this world and the future generation of the people, and what is our contribution. In that way, I think it's from SAP side, we take it very seriously, the sustainability concept, and we have full support from the top management, and we are in the right path to say in this direction.
Oh, great, sir. I think very rightly put. When nothing was there, you said let's create ourselves, right? And today, those myths, those doubts have gone. I think maybe if manufacturers wouldn't have come, maybe SAP would have manufactured an electric car themselves.
Yeah, by the way, it's our top management went to Chetan Maini's workshop to evaluate how the Reva manufacturing and assembling was doing it. This was in the year 2011.
Nice. So that's great. That's good to hear, sir. So on the same topic, now that we are on the same base of everybody knows the myths are busted, charging infra is coming up, everything is going forward. To start with, Kumar sir, and I followed up with all the other panelists as well. Well, nobody has a crystal ball today. We can't guess what the future is, but all of you have such 20 plus years of experience in your expertise of field and have seen electric vehicles over so many years. So how do you see the future of electric vehicles in employee transportation going forward, sir? If you can just throw some insights based on your knowledge and experience. Kumar sir, if you could start off with.
Yeah, Sandeep, in my view, corporates will continue to focus on gradual increase in electric vehicles into their fleet, because they started seeing the benefit out of this. They started seeing, the employee feedback and what is the contribution one can do to the environment. That they started seeing that. So that is one part. Second is, in addition to contribution towards sustainability, how EV can bring values and use technology to enhance, in other areas, like, one is charging infrastructure, which, briefly touched upon by one of my other panelists. Today, that is one of the challenges for any one of us when we get into this. So there, experts like you can play a role to adopt the technology to have fast charging system and, reduce the cycle time, even manufacturing and delivery and installation of those things. And battery performance, that is one thing. Today, I think you're using lithium-ion batteries in all the electric cars. Is there any other technology? I'm sure you're already working. Just maybe that is the one area where less pollutant batteries can be adapted in all the electric cars. It is not that though one end we are contributing towards CO2 reduction, but on the other area, the kind of materials what you use in a complete package of the electric cars. And third is maybe supply and demand gap. once everyone started, getting into electric fleet, how producers can meet the demand and continue to maintain the efficiency and the quality what one can expect. Initial days we face some of the problems. Slowly, our vendor partners started working on those areas. So without getting into detail, like efficiency, what you commit should be delivered to the end user. Those things. And last, my thought is, as all of us are aware, the Indian government has set, ambitious targets to accelerate the adoption of electric vehicles. By 2023, they have a target to increase more number of electric vehicles in India. But there are some challenges, like, one can get the great idea, but by the time it goes to policymakers and they work on the policy, and by the time it reaches to the end user, probably the idea itself may get lost. So these are all some of the thoughts for how the things are going to be, and how some of the challenges one need to address, including government and some of the electric car producers like Tata.
Oh, great, sir. I think you mentioned three key bottlenecks: the efficiency, the charging infra, and the battery performance. And I think rightly said, everybody is working towards the same direction. In fact, just to give you a perspective, Karnataka government has gotten approval for about 170 fast chargers from Department of Heavy Industries, which BESCOM is planning to put up over the next 6 months. So I'm sure things on that end will definitely work out, right? Now, before I move on, I request all the participants to start posting your questions in the chat group. We have till now got about 4 or 5 questions, so that if anybody else wants to put in their questions before we move on to the other two perspectives, at least we'll get your idea as well. Yeah. So moving on, Arul sir, if you could share your insights on the future of electric vehicles in employee transportation. We can't hear you, sir. I think you're muted.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Absolutely, sir.
Thank you, Sandeep. So as you know, across India, we are quite poor when it comes to the infrastructure, charging infrastructure. So that is slowly improving now. As Ashish did mention during his presentation, that the home charging may become a primary, while the government infrastructure or the common infrastructure is coming on the way. And some of you are aware that the government is planned to have about 2,700 charging stations across India, wherever the population is there, 1 million plus population cities. And as we are talking, that work also in progress. And as on this year, the January 2020, 30 cities have been awarded for 2,000 electric vehicles, and the bidding is going on across 20 cities. I think that also is likely to get concluded by this year. And as a target across India, about 12 cities, it can be Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, Karnataka, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Goa, and Madhya Pradesh, Uttarakhand, like that. There are 12 cities are already signed a contract. By 2025, at least they will have the maximum number of buses coming on the way. So by seeing all this coming on the way, I think even the corporates, whatever we have done, right? If I need to give an example, in VMware, when we started doing the electric fleet, we also partnered with the renewable energy partners, right? As on today, the cars which are getting charged through the renewable energy, and the way the sustainability partnership, what we have is in a big way, because 100% we are achieving a sustainability, right? So like that, most of the corporates are also having a target to achieve. So to achieve those targets, one has to bring in electric fleet. And as we are talking, we also came across seeing a couple of shuttle services, the bigger fleet, which is 12 plus 18-seater vehicles, which are already coming into the market. But the challenge is that they are quite taller than the shuttle services. They will not be in a position to enter into the building premises. For that, again, the companies which are coming up with the new projects, they are also planning to have the charging stations in the common or open areas, so that that particular request also can be accommodated by having the charging stations in the common areas. I think on net, if you see by 2025 up to 2029, I think we will have at least 60 to 70% of the electric fleet across India. That's what I would foresee.
No, great, sir. I think with the vision of the government supporting with the vision of corporates, this implementation will surely be possible.
Yeah.
Sudhakar, sir, if you could share your views on the future.
I know we are running out of the time, but quickly, my views are governments are doing so many things, and BESCOM, like that kind of organizations are trying to do something which is not enough. At the end of the day, what the customer will look into it, the price is very, very important. Unless the cost of electric vehicle is at par with the conventional car, you will not be able to see that leapfrog jump in the industry, right? That is only the game changer. One, because we are slowly started addressing that long range batteries. Now the vehicles are available 300 plus kilometers, and we are working on the infrastructure betterment setup. Is fine. What is not worked out is that on the cost. Still, I feel that EV is very high cost. This is because primarily we are heavily depending on the imports of the batteries from various other countries, and unless we do some indigenous R&D and come up with that, it is not possible to reduce the price, and that will always act as a kind of a bottleneck.
True. So on that front, I mean, many companies are looking to set up their battery manufacturing plants in India, and we are also one among them. Right? Well, thank you for giving such insights on this. So we have, I think, time for about maybe two or three questions. So let me just see. So somebody has asked on the per kilometer cost working out against fossil fuel vehicles. And somebody has asked the cost advantages of EV versus diesel. So I'm clubbing the two questions and putting up to the panel. So how do you see the cost benefit of EVs vis-a-vis the diesel vehicles? Because obviously the capex is high and the opex is low. But what would be your views to take that forward, sir?
Sandeep, fair to say that organization, finance and sourcing takes a bigger call in this. Anyway, jokes apart. If you ask me, of course, as a one-time cost, it is quite high when you want to procure a vehicle. But as a running cost, if you see on the overall, compared to the fuel fleet versus electric fleet, it is quite cheaper. That's all I would wanted to put it across.
Okay. I can give a little bit more details on it. Let's say we did diesel vehicle maintenance cost somewhere around 8 to 9 rupees, whereas electric vehicle per kilometer charge, it comes to approximate 3 rupees. Okay, 3 to 4 rupees, depending on which slab you are in the power tariff, that bill. Okay. Apart from that, I know that capital cost is high, but today, how SAP can overcome with that that part also. The vendors needs the long-term commitment. If you are going to have a 3 years contract with the vendors, and I'm sure that they are going to offer the much better competitive pricing than your conventional cars. That much I can say.
Fair enough.
Just add to Arul and Sudha, whatever the calculation they mentioned with the current variant of electric cars, which gives though it's on test bed, it is say 100 to 120 kilometer on full charge, and in reality probably 80, 90 or whatever. But in the coming days, as you mentioned, or as Ashish mentioned in his slide, about 230 kilometers. That is the range which we are going to get, in the coming days and beyond that. Then the cost will be further, going to go down, and we can see a significant gap between, fuel-based vehicles versus EVs.
Okay. I think rightly put, it's summarized in the long run. Definitely the benefit is there. Now, some of the other questions that I see, again, there's a cost on the cost of operations, which I've already addressed. But people are asking, I mean, this is probably addressed to both Tata Motors as well as the participants. Like, how long do you think the charging infra can take to have a strong presence in this country? And also, do you think EVs can completely replace IC vehicles?
In near future, no. For example, if somebody wanted to travel from Bangalore to Hyderabad without charging, we don't have that facility, and neither we don't have infrastructure, right? It should be either infrastructure should come up, or the vehicle should be its 500, 600 kilometer range should be available. Then only it can be replaced with the conventional vehicles. Till the time, that is not possible.
Okay. I get that point, sir. Yeah.
Second, cost, Sandeep. Even many of, not only in corporate, even in personal capacity, any individual wants to buy a sedan, they will see the electric sedan cost vis-a-vis equivalent other cars. Then because of the cost, at least at this point of time, people still think twice to go with electric cars. And again, as the days goes, in the future, I think, I'm sure once battery cost is going to come down and other cost of manufacturing comes down, probably you will see a surge in EV usage in India.
Okay, fair enough. I think two questions, probably I can just address that. They're asking, is Tata Motors planning a cab-like services like Uber, Ola? Definitely not. Not in the near term. We are specialized in making vehicles. And somebody has asked, are you working on alternate hydrogen fuel, which is available abundant in the atmosphere? So we are working on many alternate sources of energy, but right now EVs is what we see as a long-term stable source of source of running mobility all across the country. EVs is where we are strongly invested into. So I think more or less we have taken up all the key questions here. If you have not been able to take certain questions owing to the paucity of time, we will probably mail you back. My colleague Manish, Jayasurya and Nitin have taken a note of these questions. I'm so sorry if you're not able to address it right now. Before Manish could put up his vote of thanks, if some final words from the panel members.
I think from my end, since many corporate like us, I've seen the success and I've seen the significant contribution towards sustainability. I think some of the organizations are started thinking towards adopting EVs, and some of the organizations are evaluating. I think for them, probably this kind of feedback through this webinar from corporate like SAP, Citrix, and VMA, and even others who are already using may give some kind of positive feedback as part of their technical evaluation, and I think they can start moving or they can start the journey from this EV. May not be 100%, probably as a step they can start from 10-20%, then they can move on gradually.
Right. Thank you, sir. Arul sir and Sudhakar sir.
Yeah, thank you, Sandeep. See, as Kumara did mention, as a corporate, we have to take this as a big task and start initiating, if not as a full fleet. We should start with a smaller segment, and as the days goes on, I'm sure the infrastructure will also support, and we can able to achieve the targets as whatever is the targets required as part of the sustainability initiatives. I think we have to take this as a big task in our shoulder.
Great, sir. Great. Thank you, sir.
From my side is pretty clear. EV is going to be the future. And since we were the early adopters and we started already reaping the benefits out of it in terms of the sustainability angle, in terms of the cost, in terms of technology, everything, right? We are already having a benefits. I'm not talking about the the notional benefits. I'm here talking about the realized benefits. As an organization, we started already enjoying it. If somebody is having any further questions on it, and please feel free to reach out to us. We can give it some more information also.
Oh, great, sir. Great. Thank you so much again. If this was a normal physical seminar, we would have probably a bouquet put out. So a virtual bouquet and thanks from our side and all the participants here. And Manish will probably, if you can give the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Kumara sir, Sudhakar sir, and Arul sir, for the ideas and the views on the future of employee transport and how electric vehicle can be a role to it. And few very good points which you all have put, how your organization and your direction in terms of sustainability view have brought in savings in terms of CO2. SAPLab, since 10 years, they have been directing industry and setting up their own infra and moving towards sustainability and giving benefit to their employees. This has been something very unique. And then on COVID, the OTP thing was something very unique which has come on. And literally like to thank you for driving this entire session. And my deepest thank you to all my internal team and IT support team who has made this event possible, and seamlessly this event has gone through without any hindrance to it. And then very patient audience and knowledgeable audience. So those who and many audience have definitely got some kind of insight through this session, and we will, and questions which we were not able to address, please write back to us. We'll address them all. And thank you all for being here.
Sure. Looking forward for maybe a season 2 of this kind of a webinar.
Yeah. Big thank you from our side also to all the audience and the management team from Tata Motors. Thank you all.
Thank you, Sandeep and Tata Motors team for organizing this. Thanks, fellow panelists, and thanks all the audience.
Thank you.
Thank you all. It's a great
Thank
session.
you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sirs. Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.